Hello and welcome to Sheila Lives Out Loud. My name is Sheila Moniga. I'm glad you're on this channel. As always, please click subscribe and hit notifications so you never miss an upload. And we do that every Monday, so check us out. And remember, at the end of this video, if you've seen something that you'd like to speak on, please drop us a comment below and feel free, share it, especially today's conversation, because this is a conversation that we all need to be having, especially in light of what's happening with the COVID pandemic. In the beginning, we all asked ourselves, do you know anybody who's got COVID? But now we're beyond that question. We're beyond that conversation. We not only know people who have been infected by the coronavirus. Sadly, we now also know people who've lost their lives. And in this time, it's not just deaths occurring because of the coronavirus. I'd like us to have a conversation on grieving in this time, because we're losing loved ones from the disease, from other causes as well. And the process of grieving is especially difficult. We now know that it takes even up to 2 days to go from admission of a loved one to the loss of a loved one to the actual burial. So what do we do in these times? How do we get through this trauma psychologically? And joining us for this conversation is Professor Robinson Ocharo. He is a professor of sociology with a bias in social psychology in the Department of Sociology and Social Work in the University of Nairobi. Good day to you, Professor. How are you?
Good day. I'm fine.
It's wonderful to catch up with you again. I sometimes call you Mwalimu, and that's simply because I studied and completed my master's thesis with you, and I know you're waiting for me for the PhD. Niko njiani, unaona sasa vile corona.
You can say uko njiani, and then it becomes the Jesus story, coming soon.
But eventually Lazarus still came to life, so don't give up on me yet.
Good.
But Professor, just speaking about, the events over the past couple of weeks, grief in the time of COVID, it's surreal. It's surreal. I feel grief is one of those things you cannot rush. But here we are with Corona, and here we have grieving families who have lost loved ones. Some of them didn't even get to say goodbye to the people that they love because they went straight from the hospital to admission to isolation. And sadly, some of them also lost their lives. And you can see what's happening with burials. Caskets are completely sealed. This whole process is not a normal process. And with this trauma, the question becomes, how do we deal? Before you answer that, let's get to grips and understanding of what grief actually is.
Well, psychologically speaking, in technical terms, grieving is a disease in itself. Technical. But there is a way we want to simplify this. Venting out. Let me put it so that Kenyans can understand this better. Or letting out the emotional pressure in you. That's healthy.
Right.
Because grieving, and especially prolonged grieving, can actually lead to trauma. Mm-hmm. What we try to promote once you lose a loved one, a close friend or something, what we try to promote psychologically is to try to get used to it, accept it that it has happened. So that time and the intervention needed is most important to get to accept. Because technically, again, if you go to the science of grieving, it in itself is a disease and it has its own treatment. But again, if you hurry it, you shorten it too much, you leave a lot of pressure inside somebody, which that person will be burning from inside, instead of you'd have let it out so that the person accepts and moves on.
So you've mentioned it is a disease, and I remember when my own father passed away, it took several years to even be able to say Dad died. Just even saying that word died was so difficult. It felt like the most horrible thing to say about a loved one. But then the reality is that's exactly what happened. for many families right now in this time, I remember a couple of weeks ago, before the celebrity Papa Shirandula news hit all of us, we were seeing burials happening at night. What does this do to people psychologically?
Psychological. I'll start from your story and then come to what it was supposed to be done. Now, from your story, not to accept to mention dead when you're done, the right intervention was not there. That intervention that allows you to accept it, because there are things we do, we refuse to accept it. Some of our surroundings promote that refusal to accept what people say, what people don't say, what people do, what people don't do, promotes that lack of acceptance. And that's why we say it's a disease in itself, because one is you're likely to keep on denying until old age, and that makes you burn inside. Now, quick barriers need real interventions, because in grief, to prevent what you went through, some of the things we do during the death is to allow you to talk about it, to allow you to even mention the name, to promote that acceptance by playing around the dead, so that it becomes part of the normal life. Because there are things we can't change in life. If somebody's died, somebody's dead, somebody's dead. Some of the things that we do that prolongs grief and which is dangerous is refusal to talk about the dead. And in some cultures, sometimes we say, don't talk about it, don't mention the name. And then we want to be nice to those who have lost their loved one by telling them not to worry. That's dangerous. The first thing is that they are worried. So this not to, that is a person who can manipulate. You and I can manipulate information. So if you come and tell me, if I come, Sheila, and tell you that is God's choice. Now, how biased can God be to choose your dad and not my dad?
Right. And even
you are likely.
And the saying, God loved him more. What does that mean? Does God not love us more as well?
You see, those are the questions you ask, and you end up saying, people around me are actually pretending. They don't want to understand what I'm going through. Like they say, wananipaka mafuta kwa mgongo wa chupa. They're just lying to me. So they leave you on your own to go down, to shoulder that on your own. And quick flashes. I'll come around, I call it honeymoon. I'll come around the time I hear Sheila's lost her dad. Then I rush to her house, all of us converted there. That's an honeymoon. Because soon after that, what I'll do is, if you don't know me, I'll drop my number, tell you in case of need. And all of us will be dropping numbers there. Then we disappear. We leave you on your own. That is dangerous. Now, what do you do? Then I'll come to these short, quick barriers. What we should do is to encourage you to accept it by talking about the dead, what went wrong, how did he die, what were the good times, what were the bad times you shared. You remember the joke about Moy, the late Moy, and Gideon Moy. That is the type of encouragement, psychological promotion of acceptance that we need. The jokes, even Uhuru joking about it, about being cold, and then he went hiding, and people are laughing. Family members were laughing. It's like, yeah, it has happened. These were the good times, these were the bad times, and that's how it is supposed to be. Remember the good times, bad times, accept it as happened. But things of God loved you, has gone to a better place. There is no better place. There is no better.
How did they even know that they made it there? Maybe they didn't. They forgot to repent.
There is no better place other than social connection.
Right.
So you're disconnected with your dad, and I tell you he has gone to a better place. I'm lying to you, and you'll be processing that information.
Right.
Now, quick barriers. I'll go straight by starting to look at the gap that there is. quick community intervention.
Yeah.
And then follow up. Quick community intervention. Somebody dies today and you know you're burying them tomorrow. You need a few hours around the family to encourage the family that it has happened, to also start now. This is the time we should start community education, that in this period, you lose double. You lose your loved one and you lose time to let out that emotional whatever.
Yeah.
Because we do it so quickly. So over time, like by it's 2 to 3 weeks down the line with such like education, people are actually mentally prepared. It will happen so quickly. But you see now, everybody is fearing. Everybody's like, I wish nobody around me dies, because it will happen so quickly. It will be at night. And you know what we associate the night with?
Yeah.
It will be a few people around. You will have no time to, crying. Then let me come to that. Crying is healing in itself. I grew up in a community before I went to school and learned about the beauty of crying. It's just like the beauty of laughter. The beauty of crying is that if you cry and let your tears come out, and emotionally you will finally get to accept. I've cried it out. It has happened. I live on.
Right.
So overnight, 2 days, will not have, unless we have prior community education and a quick intervention around the family, close friends, and we have to discriminate. Because the vulnerable people here are low class, people with low social connectivity, say single parent, no parents, or bad relationship with the relative. That's low social connectivity. This should be our target now. People who have no strong social capital. These are the people we should target. And I think, to be real, is that, of course, we cannot avoid the health circumstances surrounding what this is. We have to accept it, but we have to have real interventions and make sure that we have programs in place that will promote that. And we do it at community level. I know we have the capacity.
Listening to you speak, you've mentioned social cultural practices. They're things which are part of our upbringing. Maybe for men, you're told wanaume hawali, so don't cry. Hiyo ni kulia ni ya wanawake. But grief is loss, and it's now, I'm hearing from you that we should encourage people who've lost, whether they're female, whether they're male, whether they're adults, whether they're children, to acknowledge this loss. When we go to mourn with those who are mourning, not shy away from talking about these individuals who've passed on, from bringing them to life in our memories, in our experiences, and allowing people to cry, should they want to cry. But also in the same breath, if someone doesn't want to cry, si kumlazimisha. Now is the time to cry. Usipolia sahi.
We are not driving you to cry.
Right.
We should allow you. If it's happening, we should allow you to cry. And let it out. As crying is one way, talking about it is one way. One thing for a healthy mental status is actually to share your most embarrassing moments and laugh at yourself. You know what that does? It's, instead of burning from inside, you let it out. Because burning from inside will bring you down psychologically.
So as a community, you mentioned community interventions. It is for all of us to surround people that we know are mourning, to be a source of support. And that is also a very difficult thing to do, because there's social distancing, because there's only so many people you can be able to have access to at any given time. But just because we've come for a funeral or we've come to mourn and we go home, it doesn't end there. We've got to keep checking on each other.
I want to demystify this social distancing thing and why I'm talking about community interventions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you and I, you can see quickly we are together, we can laugh. I do occasionally call my dad.
Yeah.
And ask the young ones around to put the video. We joke about life and we talk about life.
Mm.
At community level, we can put up such systems because it demands so right now. Because we don't want to bury the dead and have so many mental cases to deal with later.
Yeah.
So let's not say there is this social distance. Of course, yes, if you look at it strictly social is social. Because my dad cannot go to the market to joke there. My dad cannot sit at the market and share those jokes there. That is social distance. But let's maintain, I've always said, let's maintain the physical distance, but promote social proximity. The way I'm talking with you, Sheila. This is social proximity.
Okay.
These days, okay, we can argue as much as we want, or not everybody can afford network, and not everybody can afford electricity and all that. That is not an excuse. Why don't we deal with those who can afford instead of bringing so many down? That's why I said class discrimination itself will discriminate in terms of the effect that quick barriers will have, because low class will suffer more. People with low social connectivity will suffer more. That we have to accept. And if there's anything we can do, let's do it now.
Okay, so look out, especially for those who may be on the margins. Don't imagine that, for instance, if your housekeeper has lost a loved one, that's her problem. It's also your problem. You're here
It should be your problem.
To help you. We're all connected, just as you said. So in closing, your tips on advice for comforting others. I'm already picking one. Watch the things that you say. Things like he's in a better place. God, stay away from some of these expressions. A nice golden rule that you've also given us is to celebrate the lives of these people, to not go there and not talk about them. That's the reason why we comfort each other, by sharing the lives of these people. What else would you add to your list?
I will add to my list, given the situation we are in, which let's talk about physical distance, which necessitates that we have physical distance. Let's not kill social distance where it's possible. By social distance, a few minutes ago, I was in class with my students. So the sociability that we had with the physical distance, the same sociability is happening using
these gadgets,
using internet. Where possible, let's not kill social distance when we want physical distance.
Excellent. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so very much, Professor, for making the time to speak with us. I'm sure there's another class of students that are waiting for you at the door. It amazes me how quickly time flies when I'm having a conversation with you. And please don't give up on me yet. Niko bado traffic, niko foleni, lakini nkonjeani PhD, here we come. That was Professor Robinson Ocharo talking about grief in the times of COVID. I hope you've learned something. Be a comfort, be an inspiration to someone, be a good support system to someone, because people are grieving, people are hurting, and we've got to go through this process together. So if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, please do so now and hit notifications so you never miss an episode. And I hope this show has touched you and taught you something that you didn't know before. Share this link with a friend, and I look forward to catching up with you next week as we stay sane, as we stay safe, and we do our best to keep each other going. Until then, live out loud in all that you do, and bye for now.